Two and one. Welcome, guys. Hopefully you guys can hear us. Hopefully you guys can see us. We are here with Nathaniel Coleman Jr. He's going to go by Nate today. He is the president and CEO of The Good Fight, Inc. And we're going to get into a really exciting conversation about what The Good Fight is and what they've been up to and how they're making an impact on the world. But before we do that, I want to thank you guys for tuning in on our Teaching Tuesdays. If you guys ever want to go deeper with the materials that we are getting into today, we have a One Life Roadmap journal that you guys can get on Amazon. It's over 100 pages that'll walk you through all we talk about in One Life. It'll help you create your vision. It'll help you dial in your finances, figure out what important relationships you need in your life, and then also help you to boost and improve your wellness physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it's all, it's all in one journal that you can fill out, you can go through. There is an adult edition, there is a student edition. That's all available on Amazon. And then if you want a free download, if you just want to test it out, see how it goes, just go to onelifefullylived.org and you guys can download it for free on there. All right, let's get into the conversation for today. And I mentioned we're here with Nathaniel Coleman Jr. and he is the president of the CEO of The Good Fight. And I thought that it would be helpful to they have such a great mission. I thought it'd be helpful to share their mission with you guys so you guys can see just what they're doing. And on their website, it says The Good Fight's charitable mission is provide at-risk and disadvantaged youth with hope, encouragement, and a safe environment to develop personal goals, discipline, and values free from juvenile delinquency, substance abuse, truancy, crime gang activities, and other difficult challenges. And I read that and I go, that sounds a lot like what we do here at One Life. And so I first want to honor and thank you for not only spending time with us today, but also the time and effort and energy you've been putting into your organization and all the good work that you've been doing. So thanks so much for being here today, Nate.
Thank you.
Nate, tell us how it started. Tell us, where it came from. Now it looks like you guys are going into you guys are going into gyms and teaching centers and all these places and bringing these programs and hope and bringing this, inspiration directly to the people. How did it start? Where did it come from? Why did it happen? Give us a little background and history on The Good Fight.
I think that a number of wonderful intersections just kind of crashed into each other. I was the coach for UWL's boxing club, and I volunteered and I did that for 6 years. But in the middle of that, a personal friend of mine, was upset that his daughter had gotten thrown out of her second school for fighting or behavior, whatever it was. And so I suggested to him that he let me teach her to box. And he stared at me and said, okay, fighting is her problem. And I said, no, boxing's different. So with the one student, of course, learning to box, she in high school began to tell other students. So then one turned into two turned into four. And then some of the kids were struggling in school. And because I had access to college kids who I was training to box and I was volunteering, I suggested that they pay it back by helping these kids who were struggling in school. So now I've kind of put those two together, and a lady who still volunteers for me, who has cerebral palsy and who is in a wheelchair, asked me if she could come and box during a class, and I said, sure. So she started taking boxing, and she began to push me to find a space to open a gym, and programming just sort of started from there. So we started as a boxing gym that had tutoring for kids who were struggling in school. And so that turned into one program, and then ideas just began to pop up and people would make suggestions. Sure, let's try it, and we learned as we went, and we began to grow. So we just passed our 4-year mark, and I'm excited about where we're heading in the future.
Yeah, congratulations on that. What's interesting is that similarly, One Life has been trying to bring access and information and really this knowledge that isn't very prevalent in lower income areas, isn't prevalent in communities of color, frankly. And it seems similarly what you're doing is finding a way to bring the same stuff, these same life skills, these same important lessons that everybody needs to learn, especially, kids who are growing up in a endangered community or in, not so perfect environment. And you're trying to find a way to, what my kids love, the gummy bears, right? They hate vitamins, but they love the gummy bear vitamins. And so you're trying to find a way to package it and put it into, something that these kids can take and run with. I'm curious why the goal setting, why the personal side of it. You could have just gone in and made it about boxing and got them in better shape. And, maybe they would have been, better behaved because they had a energy outlet and they had, activities and time and things like that. But you found that it was important to also bring in these other softer skills that aren't really emphasized in schools. Why was that a big part of what you guys are doing? And in addition to the boxing and on the side of the other things that you're doing, you're also trying to bring these skills to these kids as well.
If you're building a building, you can't just use bricks. You have to have the electrical components. You have to put wiring in for electricity. You have to put plumbing in for water. We want to complete kids. I think one of the problems that happens today is that so many kids don't have their own values and self-worth. Instagram and Facebook and all, you hear them say, "Oh, I only got 19 likes for this or this idea," but like yourself. How many times did you like you today? And a lot of what we kind of teach around here is that you need to understand that you're okay. You're not your worst behavior. You're not the worst thing that you've done in your life. Your goals, your challenges, and everything that you face is ultimately decided by you, and I don't think that message gets taught enough to kids. And I think my own personal challenges that I've gone through, I mean, for all the things that I've accomplished so far, if you look at some of the things that I've faced in the past, they prepared me, the difficult times prepared me to be able to deal with kids who are seeing difficult times. Because if you don't have a story to tell people, if you've not been through something, if you've not had, it's very difficult to help someone who's going through that pain or who's, excuse me, facing that challenge. If you've not dealt with challenges in your own life. So I think we try to make a complete picture, and we continue to build programs around what kids need versus what we believe that we should do. So a lot of the programs and a lot of things we do have to do with kids just saying stuff like, we opened the art center because there were kids like, "Hey, we just want to draw today, well, let's give them a place to do that." We had kids interested in guitar, so we found somebody to give guitar lessons and got some guitars. Sometimes it's as simple as that, as getting a kid interested in something that they remotely think they want to do, and then that leads them on a path to deciding to do more, to get better grades, to asking the right questions, to being successful in life.
Yeah. One of the things that we talk about here at One Life is what we call our fulfillment triangle, and it is our, it's our starting point for what we bring to a lot of not only these kids, but we find that a lot of adults are in the same spot as well. And what we find is that where someone can find their groove or make a path or career for themselves, fulfillment ultimately is at the middle of, at the center of passion. Someone's what they love, their talents, what they're good at, and then where there's some sort of opportunity in the marketplace. And this is kind of what we find is our starting point for, what does someone do with their life? But what you're saying is that there's actually a step before that. There's actually a step of being comfortable with yourself, being okay with what your talents are or what you're actually passionate about, and doing what you want to do as opposed to what other people want to do. So what do you think, for someone out there, whether they're a younger person themselves, or maybe they're a parent or grandparent, and they see someone who is maybe getting too caught up with, the wrong crowd or is getting lost in what's on social media, and they're not, staying true to themselves. What can they do, or what is the process for getting someone to be open and okay with, not needing to be cool or not needing to be popular or whatever that process is for them to finally say, okay, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to commit, my life, or I'm going to dedicate myself to?
I think that I don't know. I think for each person, it's slightly different. I found out that I had a talent, and so that I could talk with kids, especially, and get them to understand what I needed them to understand. I sort of tripped over myself and found myself in this unique position, and then I wouldn't take no for an answer. Once you find that thing out about yourself, it drives you. I drive my board absolutely nuts because I'll say things and they'll go, yeah, but we don't have it. I don't want to hear it. We're doing this. And that has to be the way it has to be. True leadership is a little crazy. And I'll be the first to admit that. It's not a, jump off the building crazy, but it is a determination, a passion to decide that we're going to go the direction. When I sat with, to give you an example, I went through the business plan and the whole thing with the University of Wisconsin Small Business Association. And they told me that I needed immediately like $60,000 to start and another $50,000 in the first. And these numbers were just massive. And I remember going back to my truck and I sat in my truck and I looked at myself in the mirror and I just died laughing because I'm like, anybody give $50,000? But I didn't say that I was going to open the center. So I left and went immediately to the bank and I had like $60. And I opened a bank account called for the company, the Good Fight Community Center. Where's that? Don't know yet, but I need to get a bank account open. It was just a thought process of this is the first step. It's like if you want a dog, maybe you go buy a dog dish first, So you begin to do these things and then people see you're serious and they begin to help you. So right off the bat, the Rangers like, do you have an EIN number? Don't even know what that is. Okay, let's apply for that. Sure. And so once the ball was rolling and I continued to tell people what I was going to do, what my vision was, not what I was trying to do, but what I was going to do, absolutely going to do. And people were like, well, I can't help you with that, but I can help you with this piece of it. So an attorney volunteered his time and kept asking questions. And he said, well, you're going to need to go do an application for a 501c3. He just kept asking questions and filling it out. He hands it to me. He says, I'm not going to charge you for this, but you're going to need $800 to sit in for an application. Okay, So I told him, well, hey, I got this application. I need to figure out how to raise $800. Someone gave me a name and we raised it. So it's a process of simply making the mental decision that you're going to do something. And I think getting to that point is different for each person, whether you go through some type of pain in your life. When I won a Jefferson Award and I got to go to Washington, D.C., and I met people that a woman who had her daughter was taken from her in a sex trafficking thing. She was working nights as a nurse, and in the daytime, she was looking for her daughter. She found her daughter after like 18 months. She physically found the place where her daughter was and told the people, you either kill me or I'm taking my daughter and all these girls with me. And she walked out with her daughter and 9 other girls. Sometimes people's passion will lead you to situations where nothing's going to stop you. I mean, these guys have got to be horrible people. And they let her walk away with her daughter and 9 other girls because they knew she was serious, So find your passion and don't allow people to tell you what you can do and what you should do and how, because it's your passion, There were people who had businesses who told me that the Good Fight would not, make it and would not. And those people, I smile and I use them as motivation. I invite them every year to our celebration, let them know we're still here, So the thing I would say to anyone is find your passion and believe in your best self and your best talent. and never allow people to tell you that you can't do something. That's not the same as not listening to good advice, but that you have to find the difference between people who are giving you sound advice and trying to help, and other people who don't have your vision and your passion, and they're trying to tell you something different.
Yes, that is, you have so many, and I love the stories that you have that connect directly to the passion, and then also to what we call the fulfillment triangle, like Hector was saying earlier. So finding the passion, the talent, and the opportunity, because that's where fulfillment comes, when you're doing something you love and you're doing it well and there's demand for it. And then we also have what's called the core four, which you and I have talked about. And you talked a little bit about it as you were talking about passion, and then also mindset. So we have the core four, which the fulfillment triangle is the first step of the two-step process, and the core four is the second. So you find what your passion is, your talent, and your opportunity. And then the second step is identifying that vision. Where do you get the money from, which you just talked about, building those relationships, which you also highlighted on, and then your wellness, your mind, body, and spirit, which has to do a lot with your emotional intelligence and your mindset. And so that, just like Hector was saying earlier, we align perfectly in that you open the door for so many youth in which to realize that whatever their situation is, whatever their past is, does not have to be their future, and they do have a choice. And so that's where the core four comes in. I'd love to hear a little bit more knowledge that you have around fulfilling that purpose and that passion, and how it relates, the good fight relates to and aligns with what we call the core four: vision, finances, relationships, and wellness.
I think that kids especially have a way of feeling you out and finding out if you're real. Years and years ago, I worked at a place called, well, it's not important what it was called. Anyway, it was a residential treatment center, and there was a young lady who did not get along with our unit manager. They would always get into different fights, and I never understood why. And one day, I asked this kid, I said, "Why is it that this person you're having trouble with?" And she says, "She reminds me of my mother." And I was confused because she looked nothing like her mother. And she says, "No." She says, "She's an alcoholic." Now I'm even more confused, because the woman came to work and she was fine, but there were certain things that the girl could sense, smells, so all the things that, and while she didn't know, it was true. This woman closed the bar up every single night. So now what you have is someone who has a recognition of something, and it made her angry. So the thing I told her was that you don't have to be offset by this. You understand what it is, make a different choice. A lot of things that happen in our lives cause us to either make a bad choice and continue down that path, or make a decision that I don't want to go down that path. And when I see something that's familiar to me, I need to stay away from it, things that are dangerous to me. And that is the biggest message that I can give to kids. If there's something that has entrapped you and you have friends that are doing that thing, maybe you need to pull away from those friends and find a new and better group of people to hang with. Learning to hang with people that are positive, or yourself being a leader and being positive and drawing people to you, is a better skill set than following the crowd. And a lot of the social media aspects is about following the crowd. You know, there's a new dance that everyone's doing, so now I'm going to do that dance. No, I'm not going to do that dance. I'm going to dance the way I've been dancing the entire time. Teaching that skill set to kids, that type of confidence to be yourself and be who you are, it's difficult, but it's very important. And it's one of the most important things I think that I can do is to teach a kid that learn who you are, learn what your biggest asset is, and believe in that. Believe in that you are your best asset, that you are your A player. Put your A player in the game. Stop, putting yourself on the bench and following these other people, because it may not be what you're really wanting to do. Um, we had a young lady who came here very, very, very quiet. And one day I was sitting here in the office and I hear this singing, and one of our volunteers was playing a guitar, and this girl was just singing. It was just beautiful. And I thought, this is, she had found what she was doing. She was not worried about other kids and what they thought, and she was just doing what her passion was. Sometimes kids back into their passion. We just sent a young man off to University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. He was very quiet when he came here. He was 265 pounds. He trained down to 190 pounds. He became more confident. He loved boxing. Lost his first fight, and I told him that, a story that was told to me by my trainer, that Muhammad Ali had lost his first fight and went on to become the greatest. I Googled that. My trainer lied to me. Muhammad Ali actually won his first fight, but the kid took and ran with it and then thought, okay, I'll do more. And he got a scholarship from us. He got on a debate team. He felt it was another form of fighting. He did very well at debate. And he found himself. So now he's at the university. He's working with kids with autism. He got that job his freshman year right out of the gate, So, and it's all because he found out who he was, what his talents were, and believed what we told him, that this is how you find out who you are. And there's so much out there for kids now, So you have to listen and hopefully give them advice without being judgmental, but helping them to find out who they truly are. Are they doing this because they're looking for hundreds of likes, or are they doing this because it makes them feel good inside and it's what they want to do?
One thing that I really admire about you, Nate, is that you are, you're on the ground floor. You are not, preaching from the mountaintops, or you're not, giving your sermon from the, the mountain high. You're down, with the kids, working with them on a seemingly one-on-one basis. And I'll tell you, one of the big things that we struggled with early on as an organization was finding a way to connect with these kids, finding a way to actually get them to listen. And our programs, what we do is we go in a 2-hour, a 2-hour assembly. Our goal is to come in, bring our machine, and we one life them. And then 2 hours later, they leave, with a roadmap for themselves and with a totally new energy. But I will share that at the beginning, it kind of fell on deaf ears. The kids were not resonating with the way we were packaging our message. They were just saying, yeah, that sounds like something my grandpa, said, or something along those lines, where it just wasn't clicking. You seem to have found a way to connect with these kids. What do you find is especially helpful in actually getting that message to resonate? Or is there something that is there a place or a situation or circumstances that they have to be in order to receive it, or how can we get more young people to just open up to these ideas and concepts?
Two realizations. The first is everyone wants to be at the top of the mountain. The second is no one gets to the top of the mountain exactly the same way. So everyone, I think, has the desire to be successful, and there are general principles that everyone needs to be successful, but not everyone gets those principles in the right order at the right time. Everyone responds differently. So some kids, you can put your arm around them and just talk about what happened yesterday on sports, and just start walking up the mountain, and they'll follow you, and then they're there. Other kids, you have to point out what the advantage is to being at the top of the mountain. Other kids, you have to cheerlead, let's go. Everyone responds differently. My gift is that I think I have a way of finding people where they are. I don't explain to them where they need to be. I just find them where they are, and then we start walking. We start walking the path, and that is one of the things that I think is unique about the good fight. 2 years ago, I had a older gentleman who had attached to a kid, and just being responsible, I began to try to pay attention to make sure that the connection was the right kind of connection. And I would hear conversations about uh, things that I didn't understand. So I pulled him aside, and they were talking about Marvel Comics. So this 60-something-year-old man loved Marvel Comics, and so did this 14-year-old kid. And they were talking about different episodes of things that were happening, and that was the connection point. And so now he could also help this kid with English. So you don't know what a person's connection point is. So when I started the good fight, for me, what helped me as a kid was boxing. But that doesn't help every kid. And I began to realize that there were some kids who were exercising because coach told them to, but it wasn't in their heart. It wasn't what they wanted to do. So now you have to find those things that people want to do. So if it's our program where you're just coming on Wednesday nights and listening to a speaker, if people inspire you, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. If it's athletics, if it's art, if it's music, whatever it is, find that trigger, that thing that the person wants to be passionate about, and then help them find their way to the top of the mountain in whatever that thing is. Um, Listening to kids, a lot of kids will tell you things that will give you insight into where they are and what they need. As well, you can learn something. I had written something down. A young lady who I'm still friends with. She worked for me as a teenager when I was working for KFC, and she used to take and she would stack these packages of ketchup and mustard in perfect rows. Now the bins were made where you could just take and grab it, throw it in the bin, and it was done. But she would take this time to do it. And so I griped at her, and she said to me, if you put it in there like that, people just grab handfuls out. But if you put it in stacked up, people only take what they need. So I did some research at other stores. She was absolutely right. It's the dumbest of things that you listen to, that you hear from people, that can give you great insight into things that you would never imagine. Who would think that stacking these things, taking the time to stack them in rows, would save you money? Our store was using 33% of what other stores were using for condiments. It was crazy. So guess who made all the other stores do it? Yeah. But if I gripe at this girl and I don't listen to her, I don't get that information.
Nate, you talked about walking the path with people, and I'm experiencing that as a new dad. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my wife makes fun of me. Thank you. My wife makes fun of me one day, or a lot, because one day I told my son, there's a little note on the light switch that says "Don't touch," because that's the one that's hooked up to the Wi-Fi, and he flipped it off. And in just my reaction, I said, "Can't you read?" And he can't read. He's 2. He can't even talk. But in that moment, I realized that I was expecting, my expectations weren't matching what was real, or weren't matching what was even frankly possible. And it made me realize that probably bled out into, my expectations of my staff and some of my team, and expectations of people. But what I think you talked about is kind of going to where they're at. And so my question is that what are the steps? Are there steps to a path? You mentioned kind of everyone has their own path. Is it different for everybody, or how do you know, how can someone know which step they're at, or what steps does someone need to be taking, or is there a, I'm a checklist guy. So is there like a checklist? And there's probably not, but can you kind of speak to that? What are those milestones, or what are those steps that people should be moving towards as they're taking this journey?
I think that it's a little different for everyone. And I also think that for me, I don't necessarily lead by pushing people toward uh, expectations, although there are expectations. I lead in a way where um, I achieve, I do things, and hopefully people will see not only the way that I did things, but that I accomplished the thing that was impossible or that people said that I couldn't do. One of my favorite quotes comes from one of my favorite boxers, Sugar Ray Leonard, and he said, "The reason I will win is because you don't think I can." For whatever reason, that that drives me when people explain to me how it's not going to work, and I smile and listen politely, and I get their number and email, so when it works, I can explain to them how it did work. Um, I think by encouraging people um, to challenge themselves to find their way to their wildest dream. I want to be an astronaut. Great. Let's find out how you become an astronaut. You know, I don't tell kids that they can't. I tell kids that you've got a path, you've got to travel, you've got this. But mostly, I found the first step is if you find someone, just one other person who will buy into your dream and help you find your path to your dream, that's the most important thing. So I guess for you as a supervisor or leader, uh, encouragement and helping people find a realistic way to their dream. Um, and sometimes the realistic part is out of the box. It's just taking that first step that doesn't make sense. Opening a bank account with a business that technically doesn't exist. Um, those are the things that I think move people. If long before I was the president of an actual founder of the Good Fight, I explained to people that I was the president and the founder of the Good Fight before we were established. Because I didn't know, I just knew what I wanted to do. So you don't have to know exactly uh, the path there. You just have to believe that you're going to get there. Muhammad Ali told people that he was the greatest long before he was actually the greatest. Sometimes it's about climbing a tree, climbing out on a branch, and sawing the branch off, and making a challenge for yourself. But you have to always believe that you are your best asset. I think that is the biggest challenge that I have with kids is explaining to them that it's not about what other people think about you or what they call you or any of that stuff. It's about where your head is in dealing with you. Do you like you? Then you got no other problems. That is the biggest thing. Do the right thing. Love yourself. Love the people around you, and strive to do something that you want to do that makes you happy. All the other stuff will fall in line. Um, I never, when I started I was working another full-time job. I never thought that this would end up with me working for myself, because that was never the goal. The goal was to open a community center for kids. The other stuff started to just come along. The other people started to make the suggestion, hey, you should probably, and it had not crossed my mind. It truly hadn't. But I achieved the goal of opening a community center that was uh, going to help kids. And I'm going to open more because I am, Um, so be true to who you are, believe who you are, and don't let people tell you different.
Yeah, one of the things that I wrote down is you said, make a decision. And I think one of the things that I'm, reflecting on my own past and, just trying to observe where the world is, I'm reading a book by I believe you pronounce his name, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and it's called the World Against Me, and it's a series of letters to his son, and he's an African American. Went to Howard University, and I think the reason I say all that is because what he's talking about in the book is opening his son's eyes to the possibilities of what he can achieve. And I think there's so many kids or so many people who they look to society to say, what they can achieve, and they look to the outside circumstances to figure out what's possible. Whereas what you're actually saying is you're saying you need to look inward to find out what's possible, and then that's where that can make that decision. And so my question to you is to that kid or to that young person who sees, all of the walls, or sees all of the injustices, or sees just the ugliness of the world, frankly. What do you say to that person who goes, but look around, how can I achieve what I want to achieve when there's all of this that's preventing me or stopping me from it? What's that conversation like to those people who feel like the deck is stacked against them, or the odds are against them?
I was homeless for a while, and there was a situation where after I was living in my car, found a VA homeless shelter. I was at the homeless shelter, found a job, had come home or to the shelter to watch boxing on a Thursday night, and so the rule was whoever was in the TV room first got choice. And so I was there, and then there were these other guys who came in after me who were annoyed because they watched another show every week, and I had sort of broken that pattern by wanting to watch boxing. And as they murmured and got upset, I told them, you know what, it's not a big deal. Go ahead and watch what you want. Another resident told staff that they felt I was being intimidated to give up the TV, and told no, that wasn't the issue. The real issue was that I didn't have my own TV. You have to always focus on what the real issue is. So the real issue out there is not that there are people who are racist and against me. The real issue is that I have to teach the kids that I'm coming in contact why not to be racist. I have to teach the kids who I see every day how to find people who aren't racist, and to find people who will help them along their path to get to their goal. All these things, distractions, it's like you're driving on a road, and you might see beautiful lilies in the field, so you stop and pick lilies, and then you do that, and all of a sudden it's nightfall, and like crap, I should have kept going. And stop letting things distract you from what you want to do. There are crazy people out in the world. It is what it is, but it doesn't stop me from coming to the Good Fight every day and putting forth 110% effort into the kids that walk into this building. That's what I do. Whether the kids are white, black, yellow, green, whatever. I give them sound advice. I teach them to be passionate about themselves and life, and not to focus on the negative. There are people who sadly will spend their life focusing on all the negative things that are happening, and they'll never live their life. They'll never enjoy the good things that life has to offer, like beef Wellington, which I made about 6 months ago. Really delicious. Anyway, if you haven't tried, make it yourself. Challenge yourself to find those things and do those things that are good in life, not only for others, but for yourself. You have to do good things for yourself to make yourself smile. I laugh at myself 3 or 4 times a day. Just stuff that, if you ever pull up next to me in my vehicle, I'm laughing, I'm singing, I'm doing whatever it is that makes me happy. And so I don't spend a lot of time watching all the news. I'm aware of what's going on, but it does not consume me. It does not change me. I'm just aware that it's there. So what happens is that it allows me to continue on to do what I know is important and I know needs to be done. And if enough people, like the folks like you, like me, continue to do the right things and teach us, it doesn't happen today, but tomorrow it gets better. And then the day after that, it gets better. And pretty soon it gets really good. That's where you win the fights. You win the fights not by being bummed out because things are going on. You win the fights by being passionate about what's good that's happening. And you create the good and you create the things that are going to happen and you make the changes in the world. You know, so we have choices. But the biggest thing you can do is remember how much of an impact you can have. You know, that's it.
Yes. See, I just again, I just love hearing your stories and how, and that's, I was so excited to bring you to this community, is because exactly what you're speaking is exactly what we continue to teach in the community around the Core Four. So you shared, if you want to be an astronaut, that's your vision. How are you going to get there? That's your budget and the finances, right? Well, how else are you going to get there? The relationships and the people that you surround yourself with and the people who have a mindset that's going to help you win. And then your wellness, which is your emotional intelligence, your mindset, your health, in order for you to be able to fulfill your dream. And so that's all of the Core Four, right? And put in that proper order is exactly what you're sharing, which is when you're putting that dream, that vision, you're creating a budget of finances and a way to fund that dream. And then you're looking around you and seeing how you might need to maybe change the people that are influencing your decisions. And then also that self-awareness, that wellness, mind, body, and spirit, all of those lined up in that proper order. I keep hearing in each of these stories that you're sharing is how you live your best life, how you can become perhaps what others said you couldn't, how you can continue on that journey of tenacity. And that's another thing that I really enjoy about each and every one of the stories that you share, and just your way of life is that tenacity, that resilience, and that it's not that don't tell me how I can't, tell me how I can. And those are the themes that I hear through each of these stories, and that's why I love hearing you share those stories, and then also just all the different things that you've experienced in your life and how you've changed that narrative to focus, because what you focus on is what becomes bigger. So like what you appreciate appreciates. And so that's exactly what I'm hearing in this last story, particularly in our current the current way of the world, where we are focusing our energy and then how that's affecting our health. So I love the stories that you're sharing. What would be a practice, like for you it was boxing. What are some other things that you've experienced for kids that helps wake up that tenacity, that ability to say, you know what, yes I can. What are you finding in these kids?
That if they have success in something small, you have to recognize that thing and congratulate them, and then show them that they can do something bigger. We had a program this summer called Perfect 10, which was like a summer school on steroids, is what I called it. But we actually hired a teacher and had her come in and work with kids. And so in the first 3 hours of the day, they would do schoolwork, and then afterwards we would go and do something, out in the community. One of the coolest things that happened was we took them out to, there's a small river, there's a small town called Bangor, and there's a stream out there, a creek. And these kids, when they initially went out there, were like, I'm not swimming in that dirty water. And they all complained until one kid got in, and then they all did. And suddenly there was no more internet. There was no YouTube videos. There was no Facebook. There were these kids in the water for 4 hours. They never thought about their phones. They came out and got sandwiches, something to drink, and got back in. And then they wanted to do this every week. So now we've introduced them to the outdoors unknowingly, and now they're doing this positive thing. So during that time, that small window of every week on Thursdays for those 4 hours, they no longer wanted to think about their Instagram or their Facebook feeds and any of that. So how does that story relate? Well, in the same thing, that positive thing that they were doing, that energy they were creating, just having fun and enjoying the world and enjoying life, took them out of all the negative stuff that they were doing. And for kids especially, you just have to push them to find things that bring true enjoyment to them, that doesn't require something else or some external stimulus to make them think that it's good. They feel good about doing that. This young lady over the summer did very well in math. During the school year, she had 92 absentees, whether it was late for class or whatever. During the summer, she had none. Those are the things that I'm congratulating her. Those are the things that, look at what you did this summer, you know. She enjoyed the experience. So now going back to school, going into 8th grade, I remind her of the success that she had over the summer, that you now know you can make it to class on time. Now it's virtual, so it's not the same, but she now knows she has a skill set that she can do it. When a kid, learns a combination, I congratulate him on that, and you can transfer success. If you're successful here, take the same thought process and use it here. Find the successes and congratulate people on their successes. There used to be, from the 80s, early 90s, a system called 1 Minute Manager. And they would always tell you to compliment the person on something before you tell them what's wrong. Well, my 1 Minute Manager is that I just compliment the person and I don't really focus on what's wrong. You just compliment them on the good, and then they begin to do more good. I think the theory in 1 Minute Manager was stop complimenting the good, just tell them directly what they're doing wrong. Now, I think it should have been the other way. Just tell them the thing that they're doing good and push them to do that more often, especially kids. They hear enough negative things every day. Our kids face more challenges now than we ever did. And I'm sure I'm older than both of you, but if you would consider, in every school here, there is a police officer, and that police officer is part of the disciplinary action that happens in the school. So if a kid is acting out in school, he or she now gets a disorderly conduct ticket in school that now puts them in the legal system, and they have to go through this entire process. So the last thing they need when they come to a community center is someone telling them all the negative things that they're doing. Tell them the positive things they're doing. Thanks for coming in today. Glad you made it here today. Good to see you here today. Hey, did something new with your hair today. Hey, find something positive and start from that point, and then push them toward doing more things positive, more things where they believe in themselves. Even small things, I like that we do enough things that we can find positive in it. We taught kids to cook eggs last year. It was a big deal. Scrambled eggs, fried eggs. I got a little burning here, and we cooked eggs. That's a life skill. Those are the kind of things that you want to do to push people, not only kids, but people generally, toward positive things. I don't have a lot of negative discussions in my life. I just don't. I don't talk about things that are, and it's not that I deny their existence. It's just that they don't dominate my thought process. And if you allow things to dominate your thought process, especially now, if you think about all the things that are going on, you might not get out of bed in the morning. Why would I do that? There's so much out there. roll over, pull the cover ahead, think about the things I'm going to go out there positive and do. I'm going to change a kid's life today. I'm going to tell so-and-so they can do this. I'm going to follow up and see if they got a better score on their test. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what keeps me smiling. That's what keeps me singing at stop signs, and people look at me like I'm nuts.
Nate, once again, I admire the stories that you tell, and I think it's a testament to the authenticity that you have with these kids, and how it actually means something to you, and you can hear it with the impact from the stories that you told. What I also love is you've been just growing and evolving, and what started off as a boxing gym, now you have a job center, a music center, education center. I was looking at some things that help people, kind of transition if they're, kind of going through the justice system. And you also have a cool program coming up next month as well that people can participate in. You want to talk a little bit about the walk?
It's a 5K virtual fundraiser for the Good Fight Community Center. Essentially, the idea is that you register. It's $27.50. We'll send you a T-shirt and a medal. And on October 17th, wherever you are, and with folks that you feel safe with, or in a safe manner, walk your 3 miles, and participate. Take a picture, send it in, and we're going to kind of create a huge display of everyone doing their 5K wherever they are. So we've got people, I've got a friend in Denmark, she's doing it. I've got people in California, Texas, so wherever. I think it'd be cool to get all of these videos and pictures in from folks doing their 5K from wherever they are.
I love it. And what's great about it is it's socially distant. You can do it wherever, and you don't have to be even in Wisconsin to participate. So if you go to thegoodfight.club and you scroll down, you'll see it under upcoming events. That's thegoodfight.club. And you can find out all the info about Nate's organization, what they're up to, and you can support there as well. Nate, is there anything that hasn't been said that you feel should be shared before we sign off, or is there anything else that you want to say to the listeners before we get out of here?
Just never accept no. I think that most people are talked out of their dreams, their passions. There was a clip when, I don't remember if it was Venus or Serena, was 12, and they were being interviewed, and the interviewer asked if she could beat an opponent, and she said yes. The interviewer said, why? And she said, I don't know, I just believe I can. And the interviewer pursued, and then the father walked in and said, stop. She said she could do it. That's it. And that was all that she needed. She had the confidence to believe that she was going to win. And she didn't have to have a reason. She didn't have to have, I'm faster than her, or my back strength. None of that. She just said she was going to do it. And that impressed me, that was the mindset, that I'm just going to do it. I don't have to have, all the things in place yet. It starts with me saying, I'm just going to do it. And then you find a path, you find a way, you sort of set things in motion, you sort of say something and speak it into existence. I don't want to give you the impression, or anyone the impression, that it's magical. There is work. There is absolute work. But it has to start with the belief that you are going to do that thing, despite what other people believe, because it's not their vision. That's the one thing that keeps me moving forward, is that I have a clear understanding that other people who are around me and work for me and work on my board, it is not their vision. They're helping me, but I can understand where there are moments where they go like, oh, he hit the crazy button again. No, not the crazy button. I just know where I'm going. You know, come along, follow, let's go.
We find that our founder, we think he has a crazy button under his desk. But what he did say, he was watching live and he said that he loves what you're throwing down, helping young people to like themselves. He says that part of feeling worthy allows them to live their fully, their life fully lived. And so once again, Nate, just thank you for the work that you're doing. And I'm excited and excited. I just feel a little, maybe relieved almost is a better word, that the kids have someone out there like you to walk this journey with them. And what I really appreciate about today's conversation is that whether you listen to this today, 10 years ago, 50 years ago, or I'm sure in 30 years, everything is going to be relevant. And the wisdom and the advice that you gave is really timeless. And the fact that the kids are getting that, on a direct level from you is just, it's encouraging and it's reassuring, and it's gives me hope for sure. Karen, is there anything else you wanted to touch on or say before we sign out of here, guys?
I just want to say thank you, Nate. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and your stories and just your energy with our group. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yes, it was fun. Thank you.
Thank you guys for making it here with us. And we encourage you guys to like, subscribe, do all those things, and tune in every Tuesday. Next week, we're here with Christine McAllister. So enjoy your guys' day, enjoy your guys' week, and we will see you on the next.